You said in one of the podcasts that I was listening to, you said that time is the most precious commodity. Why is that?
Well, can't get it back, obvious, but what we do with our time speaks to who we are and what is important to us. And obviously in life, there's give and take. So, along many of the quotes, I'm sure will bounce back and forth, but, you sacrifice for the dream or the dream becomes a sacrifice. What I do with my time is indirect, relation to what I desire to have and get an experience out of life, or who I want to be and develop into be, or how am I prospering or championing my kids or my wife. So the time that I spend doing anything is intentional for a reason. It's not, I think back when people used to say like, just killing time. Like when did people have enough time to kill?
Right.
I don't even know what that's like.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm always behind, because if I wasn't working towards something, I would want to be prospering in the thing that I'm working towards.
Yeah.
So yeah, time being, like I love that, when I get to be here with my family and throw the phones away and just sit and have conversation, or like to be able to sit and spend conversation with you, somebody I met today, that time is going to be like it's going to be time stamped and valued, because I'm going to communicate with 40 people today.
Right.
And it'll be gone with the wind by tomorrow, but the time that I get to spend here with you, this is a lot more valuable time because it's intentional.
For sure.
Yeah.
When we were hanging out earlier today, it really struck me when you mentioned that growing up, your weekends a lot of times were off limits, that you couldn't plan anything. And I'm curious if having that as a constraint where your time was essentially accounted for already, or like it was in some ways predestined for how you're going to spend it. Do you think any of that started to affect how you look at time right now as a resource?
Maybe not in the way you think when you say it like that, but because I worked and grew up blue collar, and my dad had a normal 9 to 5 and then side hustles on the side, and my brother and I were the free labor, we still would get a $20 bill at the end of a day or something, and we want a dirt bike. So we're like, this was the journey to get the thing, it wasn't ever given to us. So the time spent working was for something good. And
Right.
at the time, I didn't want to do it. My friends were at the city pool or doing something fun that I, at that age, would have been like, forget the $20.
Right.
Like, I'll go to the pool,
Yeah.
Like I said, though, I think what that taught me was suffering in the wrong sense, or like way too much self-sacrifice. It did a lot of good for me, and knowing how to absolutely like work with intention and work hard is a great thing that a lot of people are missing in society today. It got me here, but it is not going to continue to get me to the dreams that I have or the things that I'm drawn to.
Right.
But time shouldn't be wasted. It should always be doing something. And that doesn't always necessarily mean fun. Like I was talking, my wife and I love to go to Mexico, and I love going to Mexico with no agenda. I love going and sitting on a beach and eating fresh pineapple and fresh mango and walking up and down. Like, I love not having an agenda.
Yeah.
And I love being able to spend quality, like, time in conversation with her. But something I try to carve out is wonder time. When is a good time for me to go walk, hike in the mountains, work out, go on a run, where I can just let my brain go and not distract it with a phone?
Yeah.
Like, all of that time is intentional.
Right. Because I think that could be something where it's seen as, oh, I'm just wandering around, I'm just killing time. But the intent behind it, the activity might be the same, but the intent behind it is different.
Right. Like 2 weeks ago, I was working through this book, Obedience, Suffering, and Reward. And I'm an audiobook guy because I don't really have the time to sit and read.
Right.
But I was like, I'm going to go shed hunt, but I'm going to go, like, I want to digest this book.
Okay.
And I walked 19 and a half miles, and I can usually find at least a shed every 6 or 8 miles. And I called my buddy on the way home. He's like, dude, how'd you do? And I was like, well, it's really hard to find sheds when you're looking at your feet, walking, squinting your eyes, trying to listen to a book.
My ears and my eyes don't work at the same time.
Right. Yeah. Not that trip anyhow. But the time I spent in the mountains was like, it would have been bastardized trying to like read that book here. Like I love my family, but I got girls with friends over here all the time. You know, my wife's got a client in and out, and that time wouldn't have been as valued for me. Yeah, time is everything. Like you pay for the time tomorrow with today, you know, and you can do that good or bad. The time that I spend working my absolute guts out and planning helps in buying my future time. You know, me being able to follow my kids to all their sports, and while we're in the trenches of like kids sports, means that Monday through Friday, like you make sure all that stuff is done. Monday through Friday night, you make sure all your tenant improvement stuff is done in commercial buildings so that you can spend 2 hours at a volleyball game for each of them on a Saturday and a Sunday, you know? Yeah. And I think that becomes a lot more, you get better at it as your time decreases. Mm-hmm. When I try to talk to young men that are just having kids or getting married, it's like from the time you wake up in the morning, the time you go to bed, your minutes are not your minutes. They're your family's minutes. Right. And then throw a business in. Then your minutes and your time is your employee's time and your client's time. Yeah. You don't have time. You're owned. It's your responsibility to make sure that those people are taken care of before yourself any given day of the week. Now that's paradoxical because if you're not good, you're not going to be good for them either. And you have to make that balance. Right. Which balance doesn't exist. If you've ever read a Tim Grover book, you know, like I used to live and die on like the black and white. But you got to live in that gray area of understanding to be balanced, like try to have balance that you can, or know that there isn't going to be any balance, and you have to be discerning and intuitive to know where your time goes at any given moment.
I was having that conversation recently about balance, and one of the funny realizations that I had during it is that if you look at balances as like a mathematical average, it really says that if you have, let's say, like for an easy example, business and family on either side of the spectrum, if you go 100% on your business, and then when you're done with that, you go 100% on your family, then mathematically you end up landing in the middle at 50%, which is average. But the time that you were spending in your business at 100%, you might have been in zero with your family because it's like, hey guys, I'm at work right now. You know, I'm not your guy to call for the next 8 hours, but as soon as I'm off, like I'm leaving work at work, and you got me undivided volleyball games, game night, whatever it is, like I got you, I'm here for it. And I'm curious if there's anything to be said about chasing what are the moments that you can be 100% on, so that maybe over the course of, you know, a lifetime, you end up like at 50% mathematically, but actually you were just all in on everything that you were doing at the time.
I understand the basis of that. Yeah. But I have a good buddy in one of my men's group. He's like, dude, right now work is requiring 100% and I'm giving 100%. Mm. And as soon as I get home, my family is requiring 100% for some trials that we're going through. Yeah. And he's like, the volume is cranked to 10 on both, and it seems impossible, but it has to, that's where it's at. Right. And I feel like that's one of those, the idea of time and how you divide yourself amongst your responsibilities is something that you can't really put on paper, you know? Yeah, for sure. It's as soon as you try to, you're going to fail. Yeah. You know, so I can't even explain it well enough to say that, other than that, like what works for me, especially in the summer, is getting up actually going to bed at a good time and resting myself, getting up early, spending an hour running the mountain is like, it's like kind of an active meditation. I can high five trees as I walk by, I run by, you know, I can come back, grab a cup of coffee from my favorite coffee shop and come back, get the family squared away, off to school, and then get into the trenches, you know. That balance works for me. I used to be the guy that woke up early and went right to work. I used to be the guy that woke up early, told my wife, you can't call me during work because I'm working. And when I get home, I'll be family. Well, I was a liar because I always worked at home. And that led to what I told you guys earlier. There was a time in my life when my life's like, hey, dude, all you do is work.
Right.
Do I want to be part of this forever?
Yeah.
You know, and like you take something to an extreme of like outworking every problem, overworking everything, taking care of everything. Like, yeah, it can have a negative effect too.
For sure.
But no one's the same. And I don't think you can really math it out of like balance and do this. If you had a W-2 job, probably so. And that's why it's so applicable and like advertising to like have that kind of structure. Hey, from 8 to 5, this is your time. But when you're a business owner, when you're a dad, when you're a husband, there is no time structure. That doesn't exist.
Right.
You know, you do what's needed when needed. When you need something, you have to address it.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I like the most about the way that you talk about time allocation and like resource allocation, just like your outlook on life, is that so much of it hasn't come from reading books and listening to people yap about this stuff. What are some of the things about your journey and your past that people might need to know to like understand the context of how you look at the world?
Well, I was not like a gifted student. I'm actually apparently severely dyslexic. I wouldn't know it any other way.
Right.
I didn't love learning till I got out of college. School was such a burden for me. And when I graduated high school, or when I was my senior, my counselor told me, like, kids like you don't succeed in college. You should just think about staying here and getting a welding job, which she wasn't wrong. Like, I'm not a student. Mm-hmm. But that became a superpower later in life because the way I was supposed to be taught and learn things, I don't learn them that way. I learn them completely different. But I think what happens is that I get to see things from different perspectives, bigger, from 100,000 foot view, when most people are maybe looking at it from a 10,000 foot view. I don't know how they see it, but I don't see it the same way. But I'm a contrarian and spiteful by nature. And that was always like, you know, you need to get that out of you. Now, those can be bad traits. But if somebody tells me I can't, like, that I will spitefully prove you wrong.
We've got a full tank of gas now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Counselor.
Right. So, and it's in anything. If it's like, hey, you can't, there was one year as a kid, my earliest memory of that was like my baseball coach said I wasn't going to be able to make all-star team. And I like pitched my face off for the next little bit and made all-stars the next year. And is a spiteful, maybe lowbrow motivation, but I'm 38 now and I kind of still have that. Mm-hmm. And then just bucking systems, like doing things different. You know, there's a reason people do things, and usually that's for a good reason. But if there's a way to do something different that nobody's just had the balls to do, the groundbreakers, the contrarians, are always the people to like make those groundbreaking changes that then industries follow.
Yeah. And
I've always looked at people like that and be like, man, I have like that spirit about me. When I see things that could be done differently, but we always do them like this because freaking everybody has, I'm like, why don't we shine a bright light on the fact that this can be done differently and nobody's just been willing to do it?
What were some of the first times you found yourself in those situations where you were like stepping out on that limb?
First times would be harder for me to like dive back in, but like most recently it was like building this house. Like, I'd done concrete my whole life, but people were like, you can't build a house by yourself. And I was like, well, you can. It's not something I'm going to enjoy, but you certainly can. And I don't want to build I don't want to pay for a $3 million house, but the materials only cost, at the height of COVID, the materials only cost a freaking tenth of that.
Right.
So you're telling me we pay a bunch of paper pushers to do all the rest of it. And yeah, we do, you know, and I had set my life up to be able to have time off and have the resource to be able to do that. But when most people wouldn't do that, they would hire out. And I wanted to do that. But I saw the value add to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Where when people make a lot of money, they don't look to leverage it. When people make a lot of time, they don't look to leverage it. They look to just like save, which is bad,
right.
or use all, which is also not good.
Right.
So most recently, like people told me like you can't do this, but people told me I couldn't graduate or go to college. People told me I couldn't race pro motocross. And I mean, everybody gets told they can't do something by people who have never done anything. That's normal. Get used to that, but understand who you are and prioritize trying to understand who you are. And I'm only saying that because I think very recently I've really tried to understand who I am and try to love who I am so that I can better have that discernment and intuition to kind of break those bonds or bridges or chains to the unknowns that you don't need to know how to do something to do it.
Right.
You know, my wife and kids will always say like, well, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, that's all the reason to do it. Somebody didn't know how to do the thing. And because we're all in this house right now, I'm like, I had never built a whole house by myself before I just did it.
Yeah.
Why not do it? Like and I think that's the great thing about being quote unquote successful is that I fail more than anybody I know. Being willing to learn and fail through things is how you learn. At least it's how I learn. I wish there was another way.
Right.
But that's where all the growth is at. There's so much growth in trying. There's so much growth in failing. Don't go out to fail for the sake of failing. Go out and try for the sake of learning. You're not going to win them all. But you never lose them all if you're just like, if you don't quit and you say, I have a lot to learn and I'm going to learn. But so many people don't even start because they're like, oh, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And like, I like have to bite my tongue weekly for the people that I meet that are like, to me, status elite, big, you know, finance guys or project managers of big projects or something. Like, well, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, did somebody have to hold your hand in everything that you do for you to be where you are? And a lot of people actually go through life like that.
Right.
And that's probably fine. I can't operate like that, nor would, if people tried to teach me, I wouldn't be able to learn the way they would try to teach me. So I often, like even through college, like struggled.
Yeah.
I taught myself, I had to like go reteach myself stuff just to pass it. Or I'd look at things from a professor would tell me something, how to do something. And I'd be like, well, I do it like this. And I guess that's how you can get there too. It makes a lot of sense to me, you know, can I do it that way? But the principle about that, I think, is really understanding like who you are and what natural gifts you've been given. Yeah. And some people are going to tell you those natural gifts are things you need to kill or get rid of. And I don't believe that. I think a lot of times people try to even like hate the versions of them that they don't like. I'm like, well, that's all part of who you are.
Right.
Like, there's a piece of you that someday that might be necessary, but that's you. It's not an old you. That's you. That's always going to be in you. And you have to love that part of you. Maybe that part's not necessary now. A buddy of mine is absolutely crushing it right now. And he's a former addict. We go raced motocross together, both went pro, and he'll like have these natural like self-destruction temptations. And I think we all do. Some of us just do it differently. And he'll call me when he's getting there and he's like, dude, I hate that. I hate that part of me. I'm like, we have to love that part of you. Know it's there.
Yeah.
Give it the justice it deserves, but you don't have to feed it. You don't have to lean into it.
Former addicts are some of the most interesting people for me to talk to, especially when they found a channel to apply that same energy to. You know, a handful of people I know, it becomes music or it becomes business or whatever that obsessive, like have to go all in thing is. They take it from being, you know, one of their biggest weaknesses to reapplying it to something like business or music or fitness or whatever. And then the physical manifestation, instead of being strung out on drugs, is having this long track record of obsession-based success in whatever wholesome thing that they decided to do. And I think that's such a cool way of like seeing people turn whatever that shadow was that they weren't proud of into something that it's like, no, this is my fuel now. I found a way to take my kryptonite and turn it into a superpower.
Right. I've never dealt with addiction or booze or anything like that personally, but I know when I'm not good, I have this like self-destructive sense. Like I said, we're only capable of loving other people as much as we're capable of loving ourselves.
Yeah.
And if we are to love our neighbors as we love ourselves, like I easily love everybody else more. I'm the meanest person I know to me. And that's something that I'm really working on intentionally. Like that sounds so cheeseball, but it's something like I really am working on intentionally because I want to love my kids more. I want to love my wife. I want to love them to the fullest that I'm capable of. Well, it starts here. And my self-talk in the past has been terrible, you know? And I remember when I thought it's not like a rock bottom or anything, but I was like, everything's against me. Everything's falling apart. And I literally remember being like, the only thing I have is to speak better about myself. Reap the words you're going to sow instead of like live in the worry.
Right.
Like I'm going to be like, no, Ty, you'll figure it out, or you'll outwork it, or we'll get there. But instead of calling myself an idiot or whatever, I'm going to have good self-talk. Now, 10 years later, my intentionality behind that is even more so.
Yeah.
But I still have this natural, and I think it's just nature that like, if it's up to me and I have nothing to do but work the next day and my wife and kids are gone or something, I'll stay up looking at absolute nonsense on YouTube and Instagram till 1 o'clock in the morning that then I wake up groggy from. And now my standard of like living is above that, where I'm like, dude, that was not good.
Right.
Like get your shit together.
Negative self-talk starts kicking in at that point.
Right. And like that's a cute thing to like have negative self-talk about, but like I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't need to fall to the depths of addiction or anything else. Like I want to keep it high level,
closer to the surface. Yeah.
Right. So, but I think that's a natural occurring thing in all of us.
Yeah.
And some people's threshold is like, okay, I'm on the edge of using again, or I'm on the edge of killing a fifth of whiskey, or like, I'm going to look at the conspiracy theories on YouTube until 1 a.m. and then not sleep and then ruin my Saturday because I wasn't rested or whatever.
For sure.
You know,
I'm really interested in the self-talk and the self-love idea. Because it's something that I struggle with also. And for anybody who's maybe heard of your story before and has seen the rap sheet of things that like, I think are some of the mountaintop moments that people would be like, oh, well, that would be a life full lived. If I could be pro motocross, pro snowcross, if I could do, have multiple exits in businesses, like then I'll love myself because I'll have this rap sheet of proof that I should. Being on the other side of some of the wins that you've had, talk to me about what the self-love equation looks like after having some of those under your belt. Yeah.
Everybody has said it, and it's all true, that you'll accomplish the thing and it'll feel really good for a while. And then your field goal will move. And there's so many better people to listen to about that than myself, but that principle is learned and understood well. I've learned it early enough to know that like I can be the richest, I can be present where my feet are. Like that is a huge superpower that everybody's probably heard. Because I have thought like the exits, the trophies, I've won a couple championships. I freestyled on the shows that I want. I've hit the tricks. I've killed the elk. I've had the adventures. And it is cool, and it's fun to sit and relive those experiences, but they don't fulfill everything in you. You know, that stuff never fulfills everything in you. I am a man of faith. So understanding who I am in that image is more fulfilling to me. And it right now has led to this understanding that sacrifice and suffering for a much bigger cause is so much more important than any of the rest. You know, it is also good that as a young man, you have this sense of like a wild heart. And I do. I love adventure. I love going to the mountains and just being like, let's conquer the mountain. But that's not who I am. That is a symptom of my identity. And that is operated on the same principle of when I get behind the handlebars of a snowmobile or a dirt bike or a four-wheeler or behind the stick of my airplane. All of that is because I fuel this wild spirit, this kid inside of me.
How do you separate the two? How do you understand which parts of you are your identity and then which parts of you are symptoms of that identity?
Dude, I'm still like struggling with that because I'm like, who am I? Like we talked about that a little bit. I'm not sure. Like it was easier 10 years ago when I was on hunting pod, like, big bull killer, 15 years before and then 15 years ago, it's like, well, I was a pro motocross champion. And, today, none of that stuff was even looking back. I was like, it's not true. Those things are all a symptom of who I am, but who I am is that's a hard question because my name is Ty. I live in central Montana. I have the most amazing wife and 2 kids. And I'm on this path of trying to understand who I am supposed to be and what my impact here on earth is supposed to be while I'm here. And that's it. That's it. Like the rest of it is like, it doesn't need to be so specific to me anyways. Right. I love listening to a podcast when someone's like, I'm a freaking I'm like, okay, well that's easy. I wish it was that easy for me.
Right.
But I think a lot of people get hung up on that and then you game it and then you live in it and it might not be what you actually want to do. Like, it's hard to say. Like I've fought with that for a while, cause I can do a lot of things well. I can't do anything. Like I'm not the best at anything anymore, and that's okay. I want to be the best husband and father, and that's that's pretty cheeseball. I remember listening to podcasts as like a young man who was just wanting the biggest adventures, and when dudes start talking about that, I was like, yeah, we've heard that, you know. Right. But there's a truth there that I hope that if somebody younger in their 20s that's listening to this, like when you get there, like just know that that'll happen and it's good. Right. And it's good that when you're younger and in your 20s and you have that hunger to do the thing, go do the thing. Mm-hmm. The men that I get a mentor that work for me right now, one of them's going to Alaska next week, taking his fiance. And I'm like, dude, like live it up, like get it in. I'm not saying like, don't ever lose it, but there's going to be time when you're going to be called to sacrifice the things that you really, really want to do so that you can have a more rich experience by giving your time and helping somebody else do a thing that is productive on that day. And it doesn't suck. It's good. Yeah. Like it is well. And if you are in tune with that, you will live a more rich life because of it. You'll have substance. You'll have impact. It's very important to be able to do both. And I can't tell you when to know to do one or the other because I often live in the extremes of when I'm like super burned out and have worked for 10 weeks straight without a day off, that I'm like, I need to go to the mountains. And I go to the mountains and I'm like, I need to stay in the mountains for a month. You know? Right, yeah. Well, you can't do that. So I'm not a pro at it. And I would say like, listen to stories of people, but don't like listen to the people that are so eager to give you advice that don't have the accolades or the dreams or have done the things that you feel like you're called to do. Yeah. You know, it's rough. It's hard. I can't put a finger on it. And that's why like intuition and discernment are so huge because that's the gray area. That's like living in the gray, understanding that life in 2026 is very, very cut and dry. Show up to your job, do these things, get paid, leave at this time, go home. And then it's up to free will, where we live in a society that's kind of told you how to operate in free will. And a lot of people do that. If you can understand who you are, discern who you are, have intuition around that, like let that lead you.
I think that's one of the hardest questions to ask because, I mean, even linguistically, right? When somebody asks like, who are you? Almost everybody, as this first thing that you say after your name is your profession. And you make judgments based on that and all of those sorts of things. And I was listening to a podcast last week and they asked the question, who are you? But you're not allowed to answer with any of your hobbies or any of your titles. So like,
I love that.
Father, CEO, pilot, all of these things like off limits. Right. And I think that that's it's a hard thing because
I have that answer too. Like,
yeah,
it's adventure. Like I just love adventure.
Right.
And adventure for me can be in the mountains. Adventure can be entrepreneurial in business, whatever. But like, I love an adventure. But I love that because those are the things and thoughts that I think around all the time. It's like, who you go up to somebody at a networking event, it's like, what do you do? And it's always, I work for these people, I'm here. And sometimes, I went to a dude last week that built BlackRock, and I was like, sick.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a redneck from Montana.
Right.
Like, you know.
Yeah.
So there is some levity there.
Right.
But it doesn't tell me who you are.
Right.
There's a lot of people that have a ton of money, but I'm like, tell me a good story. Tell me like a adventure. Where did you almost die? Where did you come alive?
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool.
I think that's one of the coolest things about meeting somebody in a way where you get to know them before you get to know what they do. I've had a handful of friends where, especially in the jiu-jitsu community, where the only thing that I knew of them is that they whip my ass every Saturday at noon. And then 6 months later, I realized that they've got one of the biggest electrical contracting businesses in Montana. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. I never would have guessed that. Sure. And we've sat like, you know, panting after rolls together, talking about life and God knows what forever. And then you learn what the other thing is. I think that's such a treat sometimes because it doesn't come with any preconceived notions or agendas or any of the things that our brains like start to do when you hear somebody's title. And I think that the problem with the question of like, who am I without my titles, without my hobbies, without any of that, is it's a really hard question to ask because it takes legit time to think of what the answer is. You know, and I think that it's almost discouraged in a lot of ways because sometimes if you strip back and ask yourself, like, you might not enjoy the answer to that question because you might be pretty far off of it at times.
That's why I like these kind of podcasts the best, is because if you show up to a hunting podcast or a business podcast, you know, you don't get it. You're not talking you're not talking on the points. We get to navigate the gray here.
Yeah.
And to be able to sit in that comfortably and hungry for, like, I'm hungry for all that. Mm-hmm. I'm always hungry for the unknown. What do I not know about myself? Like, not only do I pay people to like give me the perspectives that I can't gain, like, I'm hungry. When I'm having a conversation with my wife and I want to know what I can do better, like, I'm to a point in my life where I'm genuinely asking, like, what am I messing up? What do you see that I don't see in me? 'Cause I'm on this very intentional path of becoming the best of me.
You're not fishing for you just love too hard.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Yeah.
That actually, man, we're fanboying Chris Williamson, but like, he's got a quote about, I'm always chasing the best version of myself, who is the man in the other room who clears his throat every time I say something, settling to the best of me. Mm-hmm. And it's so easy to do where you're like, and we can always validate our decisions, but I'm not going to go put my time in my commercial property because I need to spend, like, you can bullshit your way through that, but you know. And so if it's just you and the best version of you is over there and he knows
he's listening
when you're bullshitting and goes, I'll get up and be like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And that's not being self-aggrandizing or like, I'm not, like, my identity is not me. I am not the best. I am rooted firmly in my faith, but I understand that there's a conscience that I have that I need to know when I'm making the decisions that are best for that moment, or if I'm settling.
And I think what I like about your pursuit of the unknown in that too is I think that a lot of times just the pursuit of that can show you whether or not you're settling or whether or not you're on the right track.
That's where you learn.
Yeah.
If it's all laid out in front of you, that scares me. And I think I'm gifted in that naturally. Out of college, I got the dream job that I wanted. I wanted to be an electrical structural engineer. And I got the job and immediately was like, this is it. This is all. This is it.
Did it check all the boxes of the dream that you thought it was?
Yeah, dude, I loved telling people my profession. Yeah, like, I was 24 years old or something like that. And bought a house, had a wife, had 2 kids. Like, I was like, made it, check the box, made it. But I was like, okay, I want an airplane. I could probably swing it, but like, I don't want things to just check the box. I want things to be able to use. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking at the guy that had been doing my job for like 20 or 30 years. And I was like, dude, if I am just going to become that, and this is all safe and good and well, I can see my 30-year future. And it's like pretty flat and easy with a stop sign of retirement at the end. Mm-hmm. I remember coming home and telling Rosie, I was like, I don't want to see that far. I do want to see an elevated mountain with all kinds of trails that I had to get there. I don't know if I could live with myself knowing this is what I'm going to do for 30 years. This is what I was told to do. Like, this is what you went to school to do. This is what I convinced myself I wanted to do. And I made it 10 months and left.
What was the feeling of that? Was it fear? Was it boredom? Was it panic?
It's kind of all of that, because I was like, I have dreams that I've like suppressed that are for other people. Those dreams are the things other people do. And then I just didn't believe it. I was like, no, those are for me, and I got to figure out a way to get those. Yeah, I have a brand new baby. I have a 3-year-old, a wife. I have convinced a lot of people that I'm the freaking man right now, because
my business card looks sick right now.
Yeah. And I actually left while getting a promotion. They're like, we would like to make you this engineer. And I was like, I'm actually leaving and going to the oil field with some buddies. But I knew I had a lot to learn, and I knew I wanted to be self-employed at some point in time in my life.
Yeah.
But it was, I saw how safe it was, and I was bored, and I found a lot of fun in the middle of it. I worked with incredible people. I miss that. I miss working with a good team. Mm-hmm. But I knew for me personally, I was like, this isn't scalable for me. I would have to settle for the life that everybody else has that is not for me. Now, believe me, there's days when I've worked 25 hours a day, 8 days a week, and be like, dude, that job would have been sick.
Get to go home at 5.
Would have got paid.
The money would be sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. I could have cracked a beer with the boys. Yeah. But, you don't do that in entrepreneurship either. You don't do that when you chase a dream. You do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. You sacrifice for the dream so the dream doesn't become the sacrifice. And that's always also moving. But that's, to me, such a better journey than the alternative. And bless the rest that can do that. I can't.
Yeah.
Like, I love people that are like, I'm that. And I know people richer than me that show up to a job that I could never do. They're the happiest people I know. That was a big part of moving back to Lewistown. I was like, I know so many more happy people in this community than our Bozeman community. And they're happy to go sling coffee. They're happy to go work down at the insurance company. Mm-hmm. You walk in there, they make you feel so special. There's a waiter, he's a stud and a good friend now. He's the best waiter I've ever experienced in my whole life. And he now owns that spot we just had. Mm-hmm. That every time you showed up there, he made you feel so special. Like he was doing what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, bless the people that are there. It doesn't, there's no metric of like, that is impossible at this position. That's not true. Mm-hmm. But for where I was at, I knew that where the people around me and the cubicles around me, I was like, dude, I can't, this is not for me. Like this will actually kill my spirit to stay here and be this.
I think that there's and I've come to this idea recently, but I think that there's kind of like a 2-part equation when it comes to finding what that calling is. And I think that sometimes it like screams in your face and it's really hard to ignore. And there's other times where it's a whisper in a room that's on the other side of the house. What's interesting though, is I think number one, it can be difficult to locate where that whisper is if it's not in your face right away, and like to understand what that calling is. So that by itself is its own difficult journey, especially among all of the media and all of the opinions and teachers and mentors and everybody who's got an opinion on what your calling should be or what you should do with your life. So I think number one, it's difficult to find what that calling is. But I think what's not talked about enough is it's really difficult once you find what your calling is to pursue it. Because to me, the world becomes very black and white very quickly as soon as you find what that calling is. And people don't talk about how difficult that phase is, because all of a sudden, all of the things that aren't aligned exactly with whatever your calling is are tough decisions that you have to make in order to get back on the right path. It's probably not easy to pick up and move to a different city. It's probably not easy to look at your wife and newborn and be like, hey, I know that things are pretty sweet right now, but we're going to the oil field. And so for people listening who might have found that calling or approaching whatever that intersection is, what's going through your mind as somebody in their mid to early 20s with a wife and a kid and every excuse to do the safe thing? How do you actually take the leap and like make the hard decision to go pursue that calling against the safety of not doing it?
For me personally, like I feel drawn to the things that I do. Like from the inside, I feel like there's a freaking chain on my heart pulling me in that direction.
That voice is always screaming in your face.
Kinda, but I feel drawn to the things. I don't feel like they get thrown at me.
Right.
And you have to be willing to give up all of the things that you have that you think are good for the sake of greatness later. And it's hard to put into words, I guess, but in stories, like when I met my wife, I was racing pro motocross, had opportunities in front of me, not saying I could have been the next greatest, latest, but had amazing adventure and journeys of, doing what every little kid wants to fly and race motocross. I feel like, You
watch Fuel TV on a Sunday being like, yo.
Dude, or freaking, yeah. So I had that, but I knew that's not what I wanted to do forever. I did want a family. But when I met my wife, it was kind of like, well, you can't, if you're going to do one thing the way you do everything and your hands are full, you have to put something down to be able to pick something up. And at the time I was like, I have to, like, if I'm going to treat this girl the way she deserves to be treated, I have to put things down. And I mean, I had multiple dirt bikes, I had multiple quads, I had a freestyle ramp that I drug all over the place. I had multiple snowmobiles, I had crotch rockets, I had a Harley. All that stuff had to go.
Whoa.
And that was my identity at the time.
And adventure on the table too, with offers to do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I was traveling around, and I'm, like I said, I'm not a victim of anything. Like,
For sure.
I had this amazing girl come into my life, and it was something I wanted to pursue, and it couldn't be both, And I was like, well, it can't be both right now. I can certainly do this later, but I have to man up right now and do this thing. So I remember watching my street bike leave and being like, dude, oh, we were doing this, aren't we? And there was a lot of lessons in there, because I do talk with multiple guys weekly about this kind of thing, that they're not willing to give up hey, I'm going out with the boys on Saturday and we're going to go hunt, or I'm not willing to give up that fishing trip, And I was like, well, if you're not willing to sacrifice those things, you don't have it, at least from my perspective. You have to do some of that stuff it's also paradoxical, but you have to be willing to sacrifice for the dream, or the dream becomes a sacrifice, and for a long freaking time. All of the entrepreneurial mentors that I have all told me horror stories that to get to the place that even they're at, there's things I'm not willing to do.
Right.
I'm very happy today. I have further things to grow and to develop. But there's things that other people that I look up to, that I learn from, they have done that I'm unwilling to do. And I know that. So I'm not I don't need their business. I don't need their life. I also don't need to give up what they gave up. I don't need to I don't need to cloak myself for so long and suffocate my own spirit for so long to get to this point that they're at.
Yeah.
But if people out there today are unwilling to give up the things they have today and have nothing to get the things that they really, truly want, that's where you got to start. Mm-hmm. So many people are unwilling, and I'm sure every generation says this, where the generation behind us, but like a lot of men that I talk to today are unwilling to stop doing what they're doing today to put in the action that is a prerequisite for the things that they truly want.
Yeah.
But they're not willing to earn. I wish it wasn't like that. I don't think society today sells it to the younger crowd the way like that. I think it is very much of, oh, you can have it all. And you can have it all, but you have to earn it all. There's a lot of people that don't want to earn anything. They just want it.
Do you think that there's been a shift from the idea of the American dream where you come from nothing, you work really hard, and then you have everything you ever dreamed of, to almost like a shortcut now where it's like, yeah, you can have everything you ever dreamed of, and it's one drop shipping course away. It's one coaching program away. It's one.
Totally. Yeah. I've bitten on that stuff. I think so. And I think the people that do that are a step ahead in understanding that it's a lot easier to spend your money on being red pilled into the good thing than it is to earn it and understand it and know it and learn it, Yeah. There's a lot of people that want to move up in business in their workplace that are willing to spend their own money to get trained to do the position that they want to have. They want, it's it seems very selfish, like a selfish community right now. And I think like you have to be a little bit selfish to succeed. Mm-hmm. But me growing up, man, I taught myself how to do the things, and then I performed the things in the company that I wanted to be before I was ever paid for them. I've employed people for like 15 years, and I haven't had maybe one that's ever done that and never asked. They just said, I'm going to step up and I'm going to do this. And I was definitely raised, and maybe this is me being very spoiled, where my dad said, you don't get anything that you don't earn. So even in business, when I was working at a fiber optic company, I would just start doing the thing that was the position above me that got paid more. I would start doing it, and they'd be like, hey, you're pretty good at that. We're going to start paying you for it. I was like, that's how I thought it should work. And I did that in everything that I did. Yeah. Every job that I ever had, I always just started doing more or asking for more. Because then you're worth more, instead of this like, hey, I'll be more when you pay me more. And like, I've also, like, I want that to be true. I've paid people to do that, and then it never works, And I think it based on principles, like if you're willing to do that in life, where you step into the person you're willing to be and take those, be motivated by the responsibility of being that person, then that will happen. But sitting around and waiting and cold plunging your way to success is not how you get there. You have to earn, you have to be capable. You have to have the prerequisites. You can't just want something enough that it happens. Yeah. Earning, and nobody talks about earning anything anymore. Everybody talks about wanting stuff. And it's fine to want. I love being around people that have earned the things that they have. It's a different feel for sure. Yeah. And I didn't grow up a victim of anything. I had a childhood where the worst thing that happened is I worked a lot, but I had two parents. I had an awesome brother. Like this is maybe hypocritical for me to say, but I don't believe that we are victims of anything. Everybody that I look up to had like shit childhoods. Right. And they turned it and like, I am this person because of this. Now, I'm not saying it takes that to be those great people, but everybody that I look up to that has incredible life right now, they're like, no, I know what it's like to sleep on a floor for 10 years. I know what it's like to clean the vomit off your mom. Right. They have that like built-in superpower that I don't have. Right. I don't even have that kind of grr in me. Some of these people that I know, I'm like, dude, I don't even understand. I don't fathomably understand how you are where you are. And when they tell the story about like having to clean puke off their mom, or they're so much more hungry than me. Yeah. I'm not jealous. I'm not like, oh, I wish that would have happened to me. But like, if we don't have a victim mentality and things happen for us and everything is made to be good, having a shitty week in business, having a bad month, going into the red month after month and spending your own money to keep like it freaking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But you learn a lot from it and you learn who you are.
Yeah.
And if you want to really understand who you are, put yourself up against a wall and like fight your way through it and understand, because there's so many people that don't even know who they are. They got a good understanding of sitting on a sofa and, you know, kicking beers back with their buddy. I know who I am, but like, who are you really? You really don't know till you're tested.
And I think that there's ways that, I mean, even if things are going really great, I think that there's ways that you can almost fabricate some of those tests too by how you choose to live your life. Like you can find some pretty telling signs of who you are if you go out and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go PR in a 5K this morning. I'm gonna go see if I can run a 6:30 for 3 miles. You're gonna find out who you are through your self-talk and through all those sorts of things. Through there's a million different things that you can do. I think that that's why any kind of pursuit that, number one, is physical, but number two, that is like highly mentally taxing, is such a great one to work into any kind of routine, because it's like you can go and find those things without putting yourself $500,000 in debt, or without going into a divorce, or without any of those things. Like you can go and have that kind of difficulty in your life so that when a supplier calls you and is a day late on materials or something like that, it's like, okay. We've overcome harder things than this before. Whereas if you're a sofa and, you know, sour cream and onion Lay's kind of guy most of the day, that might register as an 8 for you,
right?
As far as like the tragedy
Yeah,
scale.
it's said 100 times, like the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you.
Right.
The best thing that's ever happened to you is the best thing that's ever happened to you. But I love watching greatness, and some of with the draft videos that are coming up right now. Like you said, I didn't play football very long. I love watching these draft calls. I love watching those draft calls when people get called to the NFL.
Yeah.
And all the work they put in just got them to the dance, and they're so grateful to just get to the dance.
Yeah.
I love that.
Me too.
Like like I said, I don't watch team sports except for my kids' stuff, but watching those powerful moments are like so inspiring for me to put the work in so that you can get to the dance.
I think that that's one of the most important distinctions too between people who, I don't know if I'd generalize it. Maybe I'll just generalize and say people who are successful and people who aren't, is they see moments like that and that's the response to it. They get so excited, they get so inspired, and they seek those moments out. Whereas other people will go, man, that kid's only 18, 19, 20, 22 years old, whatever. Like, screw him. Like, really, to play football, you're going to go get paid $20 million a year? Or, you know, like they let some of those mountaintop moments that they see other people go through, or they see an influencer go and get, you know, a $50 million deal. They'll be like, man, you know, screw that person. I think the successful people let that inspire them, and they're like, wow, how cool is it that they just hit that?
And I get it. I think we naturally, there's a piece of us that if we feed that dog is what will come out. But
for sure.
But to live and operate in the principle of loving that, you know, like I don't love football. I love greatness.
Yeah.
I love watching people achieve dreams, work really hard. I love watching people earn it. You know, and you can tell the difference. Like I don't know if you hunt so much, but like hunting's a big part of my life. And there's a lot of people that go hunt and they'll pay a lot of money to go shoot giant bulls out of an ag field and call it, and that's hunting for some people. When you've drug pack strings into the deep mountains and freaking fought off grizzly bears and killed the biggest bull the mountain had to offer in a big epic adventure, none of that stuff even scratches the itch. And I think that goes back to the greatest thing that's ever happened is the greatest thing. Well, if you've done that, I personally, for me, I'm like, I can't do that because it doesn't mean anything to me. I shot a mule deer last year. Is my second best mule deer I've ever killed, last day of archery season. A buddy told me where he lived. I went to this coulee, found him in like an hour and a half and shot him, and literally was so disgusted with myself. I walked up and was like, dude, you achieved, asshole. Like, you just came in here to kill a deer. And I was so unhappy with it. And like, I didn't justify that deer. I didn't earn it. I didn't work for it. I didn't even learn anything about, I only spent an hour and a half in the mountains. I love spending significant amount of time. And I build businesses so that I can spend 3 consecutive months out hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that time. I haven't had that time in 2-3 years, but I did the thing last year and I was like, I'm going to go kill this deer. I'm going to go get a hunt in. And the last day of our season I did, and I was so disgusted with myself, and it like revalidated in me, like, you only pull value from this if you earn it. Mm-hmm. Like there was a piece of me that wanted to like send a pic some buddies and be like, look at this beautiful deer I killed with my bow. I couldn't even bring myself to do that. Like I was so unhappy with it that I've like made it a point for myself to hear myself say it to my friends that I am so unhappy with how that happened that I'll never do it again.
Back to life happening for us instead of to us, though. Maybe that experience needed to happen to have the reinforcement that like, no, I need to do hard stuff.
Totally, because I could have sold that on Instagram as like the biggest, baddest, latest, greatest, you know, and that's very untrue.
Right.
Like the dude would have cleared his throat. He would have probably yelled and said, "You're a liar."
Yeah.
And I think a lot of, I don't know, I'm not going to pretend I know what other people are doing, but I feel like society today is not living up to the best versions of ourselves. Now, something always brings us to the dance, but principally earning what we have in an understanding of who we are is so valuable. And the people that do that have that it factor that we talked about. Mm-hmm. And they're the only people that I'm really interested in being around. You know, same. A lot of people offered to help the house because they wanted to say they helped on the house, but I you know, from a economic standpoint, I was like, well, what can you do?
Right.
Well, you can tell me what I can hold a board or something. I was like, well, I don't need anybody to hold a board. I need to be like, hey, go frame out that closet, go do that. And if you can't do that, you're a liability.
Right.
So a lot of people want to help, but they're not helpful. They're a liability. Mm-hmm. But they want the validation of saying they did a thing. And I actually had people tell me like, oh, I'm not going to be able to say I helped in the house. I'm like, that's why I don't want you around me if that's your whole intent.
Right. And the best way that you can help at this point is by actually like getting as far away from this project as possible. When we were walking around the house today, one of the coolest things that you said to me was I wanted these different aspects of the house because I wanted to use them. I didn't want to say that I had an at-home gym. I didn't want to say that I had all these different things. I'm building these things intentionally because of the way that I want my life to look. And it really struck a chord with me too, because I've caught myself in certain ways, like during a trip, going to a certain restaurant because I wanted to say when I came back that I went there, or any version of that kind of thing. I'm curious for you, like, did you have to catch yourself?
Sure.
At any points being like, am I about to put a cold plunge in here so I can say that I have a cold plunge and a sauna in this house? Or
totally. Like
how did you get to that? Because it struck me like crazy. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that you caught up because that's also intentional. The best version of me in the other room is like, this is how you want your life set up. The dude sitting here right now, there's still a piece of me that wants, I'm like, I should do the what is that fancy ass home tour. I was like, I should flex this. When this is finished, I should like
MTV Cribs this thing.
Nah, no, whatever. Like the home tour is around Montana, but anyhow, like there's definitely a piece of that lives in me that isn't the best version of me. So it's a suppression. But the honest, genuine, authentic reason for this house is the utility of it.
Right.
And that's. Going back to principles, that's the same with everything I have, dude. My old freestyle and my old motocross quads, like, I am not a cosmetic person. Like, I don't so much care how things look as how they work. I would rather lap the dude in second that had the most beautiful setup with, like, my setup. I take a small, spiteful pride in going and landing in some of these places. They're like, oh, you can't get a heavy touring plane in there. And I'll go in there with mine and some dude who have a $600,000 carbon cub. I'm like, hey, I'm here. Yeah. You know, like I take and pride's good and bad, but the utility of the thing is so much more important to me than the cosmetics of it. The utility of this home, it brings me so much selfish pride when my kids say, hey, everybody come over to our house and hang out. And Rosie and I are up here and half the kids are downstairs and half the kids are hanging out with us up here, just chatting away, you know. The utility of this house, it's the lighthouse on the hill that my pastor talked about when I bought. Cause I was like, dude, I'm building like kind of a sick house. And he's like, you should. It needs to be like the light. Like it doesn't need to be a flex, but the utility of it needs to be important. Mm-hmm. And for my personal utility, yeah, being able to walk outside when my hangar's done, jump on my plane and go for that 20-minute like refuel. Yeah. This is, I've never done drugs, but like I know a lot of people that have. Yeah. So I feel like it's my bump. Like people that do coke, they do a bump. I was like, when I can go out and catch golden hour in the plane and find some critters, like I'm going to go get a bump, you know? When I can go for a run or I can go down to the gym and bust out a CrossFit workout or I can have friends over and like, hey, Murph's next week, see you here. Mm-hmm. Or when we can get our men's group to come and do church in the hangars, like that's what the utility of this place is all that is important. Right. Yes. I have a human element of me that when some of the mentors that I have, I'm like, hey, you want to come out of the house? I like, there's a piece of me that yearns for them to be like, you built this whole thing by yourself. And there's a piece of me that wants to be like, hell yeah, I did, you know, for sure, yeah. But that's not productive. Right. You know, and like I said, I have recently started having a different amount of fulfillment towards the house now that the utility is happening. The kids are having friends. Rosie and I enjoy our time out here. You can sit on the deck and drink coffee and watch all the critters and wildlife and stuff. That now, because of the utility of the house, I am now grateful that I built it. Mm-hmm. Where before I was like, there is nothing about this that I want to say I built. Right. Yeah. But now because of it is getting used and I got work to do still. It's unfinished. But because it's being used the way we intended, I am starting to it is like a very rich feeling. Yeah. That this has been provided at my hands. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't my first choice. I really wanted somebody else to do it. Yeah, for sure. You know, for sure. But I learned a lot about me, man. Showing up every day and saying, I'm going to choose joy because I grew up in construction and it's not my favorite at all. Not even in the top 20. But because I can do it, I did it. And it's because I wanted to use it. Same airplanes. I use it. They're not for looks. I like to put it through its paces. I like to do what it is made to do. I like it to do things that it maybe wasn't even made to do. When I was a great motocross rider, I did things that pushed those things to the limits. My horses, I love they're not supposed to be out in a pasture. They're supposed to be in the mountains dragging animals out. I like to use the things. I like to wring them dry of every bit of anything. But yeah, if things are just for looks, like that's a little bit superficial. For sure. You know? I think it's, in some ways though, it's so easy, I think, to catch yourself. I mean, it's easy for me to catch myself when I was like, am I doing this thing because I want to actually do it? Or is it because I want to tell the story that I did this thing? You know, and that's one of the things that's like, I think that's what struck me so much about you saying, like, yeah, it's great that I have a home gym, but I did it because I actually, I work out in this thing, 3 to 5 times a week, and my wife does personal training in here. It's not so that when people came and stay over, we could be like, oh, hey, by the way, if you want to get a workout, we have a home gym. So right. Yeah. That's cool. Because that's so easy, I see, I follow this gal named Shelby Sapp on Instagram. She's probably one of the better sales coaches. I know Shelby. Yeah. Just bought this beautiful house with her dude. And I'm looking at it going damn, that'd be cool to live there. But I also look at it and I'm like, I don't love living by myself. I've done it before. And to have a house that big, the utility of it, it'd be super cool to flex when your friends get there and be like, yeah, this is my house. But the utility of it, do I want to also manage on top of the business that I run, a grounds crew of 20 people? No. Do I how many of these things are having it because of utility versus having it because it's cool to say that you've got 14 bedrooms in your house? Well, and I think, who's the big... Shout out to Shelby Sapp, by the way. Very cool. I'm just saying that your house is not for me. I'm sure it is for you. But I think, what's the guy that just sold or assumed Berkshire Hathaway? Anyway, billionaire. He lives in the same house that he's lived in for 40 years.
Buffett?
Buffett. Like, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. In Omaha.
Yeah.
Could have moved that to Silicon
Omaha
Valley, New York,
sucks.
anywhere.
I think. But like, and he's an outlier of doing something he really enjoys.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not for anything, it's not for any other reason than he doesn't have another home, because the one that he has works for him and is awesome. You know, gosh, now it's escaping my mind. The Amazon guy. Bezos. When he was driving around in a Honda Civic getting interviewed, and he had $1 billion evaluation, they're like, dude, why don't you get a new car? He's like, this car works great. You know, he's balling out of control now, but
Right.
like, I love the print. Like those things stick with me because the principle of that is very worthy. Now, I am all dude. I like shiny, flashy, fast things too,
Mm-hmm.
but not for the sake of just having them.
Yeah.
I only want the things that I can use.
Tell me about one of my favorite things that you told me about today was the contrast between being in this house now versus when you guys moved back to Lewistown. Tell me a little bit about like the transition from where you guys were staying as you were building the place, and like how maybe that increased the appreciation of it now that you guys are here.
Yeah. So we sold our house in Bozeman, and we lived in a sweet house. Had our horses in the back. I had a big shop, 3 acres, a beautiful community. Sold it for the dream. You know, we were going to have to make some sacrifices. So I came back and I had bought a 5-plex, and we moved into the bottom level of it, which was at one point a bed and breakfast. So it had 1 bathroom, 1 bedroom, and then it had like an entryway and like 2 dining areas and a kitchen. And so we put one daughter in the entryway room on a mattress on the floor, and we put the other daughter in like the second dining room. So this space about the size of this living room, she was her bedroom with a window straight outside with no curtains.
It's like studio apartment vibe a little bit.
Yeah. And then Rosie and I had a bedroom with a door, and it had a bathroom with saloon doors. It's the only bathroom in the place. And yeah, it wasn't like it's not what you would think. Like everybody that came to see us from our friends from out of town, they're like, would kind of feel bad. Like, yo, like this is kind of a sacrifice. I'm like, well, it kind of is, but like I really look back now knowing that at those points in the kids' lives, we were all on top of each other, and it was awesome because we got to be on top of each other. We loved it, and we were good there. Mm-hmm. We spent 2 years there. I leased out all the rooms above us, so we had crazy amounts of noise above us, people coming up and down the stairs at all times of night, you know. It wasn't what you want to like live in forever, but we were good there. Mm-hmm. And I know that if we couldn't have achieved being good there, we got good there like pretty naturally. Like Rosie especially is not a material status driven person at all. I definitely needed to work on that. Mm-hmm. And I like felt bad. I kept apologizing to the kids. I'm like, hey, this isn't like what we had in Bozeman or whatever. And they were like, I don't know if it's just being a kid. Like they're like, whatever, we don't care. My friend lives a block away, dude.
Right.
I'm gonna go over to there.
Way easier to ride my bike around here.
Totally, you know. So we were good there. Like genuinely, we were good there. If we had to be there today, we could be. And I think that's what allows us to be. I think that's what allows us to have this now. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you have good and bad days wherever you're at, but like if you couldn't be good there, you'd never be good anywhere else.
Right.
You can go on a vacation and stay in a sweet lodge and be awesome there. But if you had to live there, like you'd still have bad days. Mm-hmm. But if you weren't able to be good, if you weren't able to appreciate the small, you're not going to be capable of appreciating the great.
Right.
You know, so Rosie and I talk about it all the time, and I talk about it with friends that are like, dude, we're going to build $1 million house and da-da-da-da. And I was like, well, make sure you're good where you're at, because if you can't be good there, that thing isn't going to make you happy. It's the same as like selling a business. It's the same as like achieving the dream, achieving the goal, buying the truck, whatever. Like if you're not able to be happy where your feet are, you're not going to be able to be happy if your feet are over there.
For sure. I'm curious. There's there's this thing around identity that I think is really tricky, and it's something that I'm trying to navigate too, where I think along the way it's easy to get attached to different things, especially when you start accomplishing things. Like I would imagine that being a motocross world champion is an easy thing to attach an identity to, or to be a pro rider, or to be, an entrepreneur with multiple successful exits. Like there's a lot of things that you could hang your hat on in that way. It seems like there's been a lot of shifts in your identity going from being a professional rider to being an entrepreneur with a young family, or being, the guy in Bozeman with the sick house and the good setup, to transitioning to a small town in Lewistown, living in the bottom of a fiveplex. I think that one of the things outside of just, oh yeah, it's hard monetarily sometimes to make some decisions, is like, sometimes it's more of an ego hit maybe, to be like, well, I know this is actually in line with the thing that I'm trying to do, but optically it looks like I'm going backwards because my title just shifted from professional athlete to washed up athlete, or from successful entrepreneur to startup guy again. And so from all of the identity shifts that you've had, how do you maybe get that out of the way in some of the decision-making processes that you have to go through?
I'm going to try to really not be preachy, but like, yes, I have failed at always putting my identity in the thing that I do at the time. In the past, it was motocross, it was snowcross, it was drumming, it was freestyle, it was entrepreneurship, it was hunting, it was aviation. I'm probably still guilty about selling that to myself on occasion, but my identity is, I am, based on the earlier part of the podcast, we're trying to understand identity. Like, I am a child of God at the end of the day. Like, I have free will to do what I want to do, but I want to know what I'm doing is because he wants me to do it, and not because it's something that I want to do. I'm so intentional about figuring out and understanding what he wants me to do, because I find fulfillment in that. It'd be easy for me to go to my family's ranch and shoot a giant bull this year and post it all over Instagram and get a bunch of people hitting me up and saying, that's cool. How'd you do it? You're the greatest, whatever. That never holds long-term value.
Right.
And I can say that because I've never falsified anything like that, but I've done the grandiose things that I thought were incredible, and they were cool for a while, and then they fade away. But my identity is the things that I do. They're a symptom of my identity, and being able to grow and shed the ego of like, hey, once upon a time I was a motocrosser. I remember leaving my engineering job and telling a guy and his wife at the gym that I'm buying a lawn care company. And she goes, "You're what?" And I was like, yeah, I used to tell people I was a stud engineer. Now I'm like, I got a lawn care company, I guess. I remember that like being a swift kick in the dick.
Yeah.
But now I don't care.
Right.
That doesn't bother me now. And for me, that needed to happen so that I could get to a point now where it doesn't bother me. But I believe, because these are things that I have done, you do one thing the way you do everything. And I can be a really good drummer, I can be a really good pilot, and I can be really good at all the things that I put my time to, because I operate on the principle of, if I'm going to involve my time in it, I'm going to be good. I'm going to be competent. I'm a competitor. If I do CrossFit, like, it's not my identity, but I'm going to try to kick your ass.
Right.
If I'm going to fly or ride, like, same. That's going to happen. Business, it's a competition. Same. But my identity now never involves the things that are adjacent to me. Even when I bought this latest business, from the get-go, like, start with the end in mind. And I worked with my mentor, and I was like, you have to make sure I never identify. I was like, I will fail at this, so it's now your responsibility to call me out when you see me doing that.
What a cool thing though. When, I mean, back to our earlier conversation about self-love, and I would even say self-awareness there, to know yourself well enough to be like, this is a shortcoming of mine and I will fail at this. So like, let's put some fail safes in place to make sure that this is something that like goes well.
Well, it goes back to the identity of being rooted in Christ.
Yeah.
I will boast in my weakness because of that. I'm not good. I'm good at some things. Mm-hmm. I'm good at a lot of things that actually don't carry any value in life, you know?
Right.
But I know I'm not good at a lot of things, and I want to get better about them. I want to get better at them. I want to get better by myself, like for myself. I don't want to be a liability to the people. I want to be helpful. I want to be impactful. I want to be full of substance and rich experiences and rich conversation, rich impact. Mm-hmm. You know, I absolutely do not want to be a liability or be a person that has to leech from the value of others while on this earth. I want to give.
Yeah. Yeah. I caught myself at one point. It was one of the things that really sold me on being willing to take the jump on this podcast. I've talked about it on earlier episodes and some vlogs, but as of today, I'm 10 days away from leaving Billings, which I've been there for the last 9 years, and trying to be one of the biggest podcasters in the world, which includes moving out of Billings for a little while. One of the biggest reasons why I was willing to make that jump is because I realized that podcasting felt like giving, where there's other things that I've done, whether it's jobs or whatever, that felt like extraction. And when I feel like I'm doing just enough to give the world something, I'm like, well, if I give the world like 1 unit of this, then I'll get 3 back. And like, as long as we can keep that going, then we're good to go. It feels icky every single time, and it's not sustainable. And it feels like inevitably that well runs dry. But as soon as I'm in a place where I feel like I'm giving, whether it's to my team or my clients or through the podcast, it's like that feels not only like it's sustainable long-term, but it feels like the things just tend to fall into place the right way, where I don't have to be like, how can I extract more? Because the more that I give, the more that comes back almost unintentionally. And it's one of the coolest feelings that I've experienced. And like, honestly, this was one of the first times that I caught myself being like, oh, that's why this feels so good. It's because I'm not worried about extracting anything.
Right. Yeah. So much of the world and relationships are transactional and conditional. Mm-hmm. You know, and this is debatable, but the only place we've ever experienced unconditional love is from our parents sometimes, and Christ. Like, and that's also debatable. Mm-hmm. But when you can operate from a sense, like with my friends, I tell them like, hey, I do love you unconditionally. Like, you don't have to show up. I love you. Mm-hmm. Same with my kids. And a couple of the savages that I get to associate myself with, that like masculine buddies, mm-hmm. bros, that like at the end of the day, we tell each other we love you and we're here for you. And genuinely, I don't need anything from you. Mm-hmm. Like, I have an unconditional love for you. That's powerful, you know? And I try to carry that into a lot of things that I do. Business is transactional, you know, but the relationships that you carry inside of that, they need to be managed at a sense to where maybe there's enough unconditional love there that it doesn't need to feel like somebody's just a spoke in a wheel.
Yeah.
And when you can operate and give that gift to the people around you, because not everybody experienced unconditional love from their parents. Mm-hmm. Some people they don't even know what that is.
Right.
But when you can give that gift to somebody, it's selfishly very rewarding. Mm-hmm. And it's part of that it factor. That's like, if you just operate with that principle in that mindset,
right,
man, you've given so much value between the lines that nobody can really put a finger on, but everybody appreciates and everybody wants to be a part of. And then it's kind of becomes contagious.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard. That's that gray area. It's like, I don't know how to explain some of those things, but I know how to operate in them.
Yeah. Have you been on the receiving end of that unconditional love? You talk about how it's been powerful and how you can almost see other people transform with that. Is that something that you had to feel before you were able to give it?
No, I feel very fortunate that I always questioned why everybody didn't do this thing.
Mm.
But it's only been recently that I've experienced enough of it inside of a group of I have the world's best friends, and my friends are family. And sometimes I got family members that I'd be like, yo,
Yeah.
but I have incredible people that I love and consider friends that goes back and forth, and I would freaking bury a body with any of them, I would do anything I could. And the cool thing is that has happened inside of this group where somebody's had a massive trial and we all bear the burden of it because we want to. Mm-hmm. Nobody needs to, and nobody asked. If you have a group of friends around you it's been said that if you're in a wall tent and you're hunting, camping, whatever, and everybody's in line to do the dishes because everybody wants to, mm-hmm. You're with the right people. And that's I have really good friends, and we live in different parts of the state, all of us, and we try to get together all the time or a couple times a year at least, and visit each other whenever somebody's in that town, and we have a big group text and stuff like that. But yeah, I have a group of men around me outside of my first degree family here that, yeah, I have the great fortune of experiencing that. And I would give anything to maintain that.
Yeah.
That's the best. There's no monetary value on it. There is absolutely no status value on it. Mm-hmm. But you would not be able to take it from me if you could. I would not give that up.
What a cool thing, man. I think that's one of those intangible things that when you think about your identity and think about what you're actually shooting for, what the goalpost is, I think that's one that doesn't really move. Right? It's if you can be somebody who loves unconditionally, is a giver in the world, those are things that you can attach your identity to. And those are goals that you can pursue to say I want to be that friend.
There's a peace in that.
Yeah.
When you start getting rid of the noise and getting rid of the ego and the jealousy of, all the things that us men are very susceptible of finding. Mm-hmm. But to have the peace to know that I have that. And at the end of the day, honestly, genuinely, that's what you couldn't take from me. Mm-hmm. If you could. You wouldn't be able to if you could. That makes all of the noise of, I'm not in my real estate portfolio, or I'm not able to go on this trip, or I don't have this much money in the bank, or whatever. Mm-hmm. It makes all that just noise.
Yeah.
Because you really don't need that. Those things are fine. Mm-hmm. And I know people that have all those things and they don't got a freaking friend that would come take their garbage out.
Right. Yeah.
I don't expect anything from my friends except I expect everything. Mm-hmm. Same with them. But we don't have to be asked or told to do anything because we love each other enough, and we would do anything for their families, their kids. We'll show up to ball games, baptisms, whatever, and forget the associate's wedding because so-and-so's got a T-ball game. We want to celebrate that. I love that. And I love those people.
Yeah.
I think that, and I mean, maybe even just a couple of years ago, that's not something that I would have valued as much as I do today. That we're always on this hero's journey of who are we to be and yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, being able to be present where our feet are and know that what is important genuinely is what we consider the most important. Being in alignment with that makes all the rest of the noise go away. And I'm still human. I lose sleep over bad investments and freaking time that I don't have that I wish I did and yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. But when I really sit back and think about those things, or even just in this conversation, like it just is so reassuring to me that like that is the absolute truth. And it, you know, when I get on Instagram and see a bunch of dudes just trying to preach to each other about, you know, who's going to carry the boats and blah, blah, blah. There is a time for that. Absolutely. There's a time for everything, but you can't live and die on that one thing.
Right.
You know, being dynamic in understanding who and how and when all these things are is so much more important than simply rah rah all the time.
Yeah.
You know, you can't cold plunge your way to the best self. Like I promise you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a moment that I had with one of my buddies a couple years ago. He was actually my buddy Clay, who we were doing a podcast together, and I remember that he came to me with something that was like pretty heavy for him at the time. And he was like, you know, kind of in the throes of business troubles and all the other stuff. And he's like, man, like I'm so deep in this business right now, and it's starting to affect my relationship. It's affecting my health. It's affecting all these things. And he's like, I just don't know what to do because something's got to give. And I was like 3 weeks off of like a 5-year breakup at this point. And I told him, and this is written in my to-do list every day now. I told him, I was like, here's the deal, dude. I had it all backwards when I was like in this relationship. It's like, I thought that if the business was squared away, I was squared away. I could always get another friend. I could always get another partner. I could always get whatever. But as long as that was good, I was good. It's like, it was so backwards, because if somebody took everything out of my bank account, all of my clients decided they hated me overnight, and like I literally had zero. If you gave me a camera and an SD card, I'd be able to put a roof over my head and be able to eat by the end of this month, and I'd be fine. There's nothing that I can do, and there's no way I can hustle my way back to fixing this relationship or fixing any of the things that I've let go of because of this business. I looked at him in the eyes and I was like, which bag do you want to be holding at the end of the day? And every time that I think about that, I'm like, yeah, for any of my friendships, for any of the relationships that I have, I would throw all of that stuff away, because like I'm the one that built the fucking business. You can figure out how to do that again. We can do the hard things, but like, I just remember that moment. And I also remember like leaving that conversation being like, don't ever let this be a piece of advice that you give out and then don't take again.
Totally. Same that I told you at lunch. Like, one, great, like you're an amazing friend. But when my learning experience was that when I was telling my wife on a walk about all these things that I was going to do at the business that was going to make more money, and she was still going to get less of me, and her telling me with her eyes, I'm probably leaving then, you know, and then getting a phone call a couple days later saying, hey, I'm going to go hang out with my sister for a couple days in Idaho and figure out if this is something I want for the rest of my life. If I want a husband that prioritizes work over family. And it took that for me to realize I would have given that business away to anybody in a minute to make sure that she came back.
What do you think that changed in you, that moment?
That was another like identity thing. Like I think I really enjoyed that people knew I owned and had built this business, and it was very successful. And I think I expected that because my wife was my wife, that she could carry her own. I think it was kind of more a relationship of like how I grew up as I grew up with my parents. Is like, well, because like we expect you to take care of yourself. And like some of that's fine. I had gone a little too far where I thought all I needed to do as a husband was provide and make sure that they had everything that they could ever need and want, and they could do whatever they needed and wanted to do. And I provided, and I provided greatly. My wife did not give a shit. She would have went to work.
Yeah.
Like gladly, honestly.
Yeah.
That was the best, worst month of my life. I'm so grateful for that. And at the time, I was miserable. I was a pile of goo on my buddy Mike's floor. You're like, what did I do? I thought I was doing everything right. I thought I was doing everything I was told to do. I thought I was doing everything society told me to do. And then my wife's like, I don't actually need any of that. I would prefer you in a box. And I know we've all heard those stories about couples saying that. And I know I never take it for granted. I'm like, no, like you need the car that can carry the car seats to get you to the gym, to get you to the friend's house and all the stuff. But same, I thought more money, less problems, more money, all these things were taken care of. And what the move I was going to make, I could have put a person in that position and systematized it.
Yeah.
But I was like, but if it's me, I can maximize revenue.
Right.
I'm just not going to be home.
Yeah, it's like you're winning, but you're playing the wrong game.
100%. Because like, listen to that. I'm maximizing revenue, but I'm not going to be home.
Yeah.
You know, and I get it. Like I said, building a business is the hardest thing I've ever done. Maintaining a business is fine. Mm-hmm. Building a business, when you're every penny you earn in net profit gets reinvested for strategic growth, that's very difficult. And when I remember getting to a point in the business, was like, hey, I'm not even worried about top line revenue. Now I'm working on bottom line.
Yeah.
We're going to kick that. We're going to just work on everything bottom line. And that was kind of part of this move. I was like, well, I got this opportunity. If it's me out here, I can do this. And my margin's going to increase like overall net by like 15%. It's huge. That's a couple more $100,000, whatever. And my wife is just sitting, all she hears is like, that machine gets more time than I do.
Yeah.
I get this walk every night when it's not blizzarding. I get this walk every night, but that's now just kind of something that we do. Mm-hmm. You know, it's kind of like expected. We just go on a walk, you know, and a lot of people see it and that's fine. A lot of people in the community would be like, oh, Ty and Rosie are on their walk with their kid, you know, that's awesome. But it got to be where it was just me working in my head a lot more and telling Rosie what I was going to do without even asking.
Yeah.
And she then was like, she went to Idaho and spent time with her sister, and it gave me time to be broken and realize, yeah, dude, you really messed up, you know? And I see a lot of wives that don't have the balls my wife did to say, I don't want that.
What a blessing too when somebody's willing to speak up when they're going through something that's that hard, because I think it's a lot easier to just let it fester and fester and fester, and then one day be like, me and the kids are gone. It's so much harder to be willing to admit that, like, hey, this isn't going to work, and then sit in the fire together to get that thing fixed, than it is to just like let it get bad enough and start looking for what's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and then later.
It was, like I said, it was the worst, best thing that we have ever gone through as a married couple. I'm so grateful for it now, because even after that, it was the middle of wintertime, and I used to go fill my cup up. I would go snowmobile on a Saturday or Sunday with some buddies. Well, I'd never taken my wife and kids, and I'd always wanted to have like a family that I snowmobiled with.
Yeah.
But it was, you know, as kids, they're a freaking pain in the ass when they're that little, trying to go snowmobiling or whatever. Well, then I was like, okay, we got to spend more time. The reason we started doing CrossFit was actually just spend more time. I went to a gym. My wife actually went to a different gym. And I was like, this is dumb. We can spend another hour a day if we went to the same gym, but it required me to do CrossFit. And I talked a lot of smoke on CrossFit all through college.
Right, yeah.
So that's how that happened. And then I drank the Kool-Aid. But then I was like, okay, instead of me snowmobiling with my friends, I'm going to get a sled for my wife and rent sleds for the kids, and we're going to go do this together.
Nice.
It was awesome. It was not snowmobiling like I snowmobiled.
Right.
It was kids being cold, warming up hands, getting to a cool lookout, having them have fun, building a little fort, making a fire, roasting hot dogs. It was awesome. I had to give up the like pulling big shoots and hitting big hits with buddies for warming up hands, being done by 1 o'clock, and grabbing a chocolate milk at the corral on the way home, you know, but it was awesome. You know, it wasn't the same. And I'm like, man, I wouldn't even have I would have thought like, oh, we should take the family snowmobiling. I'm like, nah, that's not snowmobiling. That's something else. We can do the same thing at home.
Yeah.
But no, it was different. And my kids remember it. We have such great pictures and memories of that.
Yeah.
And now they're like, I'm never going snowmobiling again, Dad.
You're
But
like,
we got that time.
Yeah.
And there were so many other instances of that kind of thing, because all of a sudden I was like, okay, I can lean more into my family because of what my wife said. I was like, it's not just me going out and getting away from my family. I'm not getting away from, but fueling myself, charging my battery. I can involve them in things, and then they've seen it and they love it. And my oldest is a lot like me, and she likes riding wheelies down here on the 4-wheeler and stuff like that. My youngest, you get her in the airplane and she's like, but Bella will probably get her pilot's license next year at 17.
So cool.
And I was like, what a selfish thing, that if it wasn't for that, it would have taken something different for me to even think along the same lines of like, involve them in what you do.
Right.
I still definitely need the 20-mile days by myself, but I can integrate. And it's a sacrifice, because when I want to go ride, like, it's not what I do with my family.
Right.
You know?
Different measuring stick too, though.
Totally. And it's so much more fulfilling. I can go chase the 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old version of me around at 35. Dude, I'm never going to catch him. I was awesome then. I suck now. That's part of loving it now too, is I get to relearn and try to pursue that old thing that has no credible value to anything other than like reliving my childhood a little bit. But now I get learning to sacrifice and involve them in it is what like an awesome portion of being a parent is. Yeah. Because it's easy to like, woe is me, kids are all over the state. It is so fulfilling. It's so fulfilling. Me and Landon that you met for a brief second, last night we're at our kids' concert. Landon and I actually grew up drumming together. So we've been there together as kids. And he's like, yeah, this is just what I do now. And I remember we locked eyes. I was like, but you love it. He's like, I love it. And it's like, there's no championship. There was no business exit. There was no big dead bull elk. There's nothing that is like that. And like, I know when you're 20 years old or whatever, that's yeah. And it should be. When whoever's listening to this and they're 20 to 30 and they don't have kids, just know that there is something out there greater than whatever it is you're chasing right now. Like raising and prospering kids in a healthy, beautiful family and being intentional about it. It's work to always be up and to the right, like to never plateau, to always be up and to the right. And like Rosie and I call ourselves out on it all the time. We date night every single week without question. And I even told her recently, I was like, hey, I think we need to stop going to the brewery on Wednesdays, because now we've done that for like a year and a half. We got to mix it up, because I was like, yes, we get into great conversation, but I was like, I think we got to do something different. Let's jump on the girls' stupid little 4-wheeler. Let's go trail ride up as far in the mountains as we can on Wednesday nights down, like picnic or get stuck or something. Like, let's go make some memories. I'm losing my ability to make memories sitting at dinner. I was like, let's keep up and to the right. Like, let's keep pushing those limits and let's keep absorbing, to be able to be on that journey. I love my past. I love the things that I've done. I love the things that I still get to do like that. They're a lot of fun to talk about. They speak to a much more broad audience, as they should. But for the me's out there, that was always like, yeah, this is what I do, but someday I want a family. It is so much more rewarding. I have 2 championship trophies in my hangar that last week I flew one of my employees back here and he accidentally knocked over and he's like, oh shit, sorry. I was like, dude, it's in my hangar sitting on the floor. I really don't care. I worked my ass off for that, but it does not mean today what it meant back then. And like, that was one of those things where the field goal moved all the time. Yeah. Having like my oldest turned 16 and the youngest turns 13 at the end of this month, and like seeing them grow into and then championing them to grow into the people they're supposed to be, not who I want them to be, not who their grandparents want, but lean into who you are. Who are you? Helping them walk through those steps as early teenagers instead of when you're 30 something years old, is such a selfish joy. Like, it ain't for me, but I really enjoy watching it.
Yeah.
You know, none of the rest of it comes close. And I know you ain't going to make a movie about that. Like,
Right. Yeah.
But there are people they want that. They want that down the road, and you should want that, but chase those dreams, have that wild heart, go on those big adventures, be credible to tell great stories. Like, at the end of the day, I'm an adventurer and I want to be a storyteller. My best friend's 67 years old. He's hiked Kilimanjaro, K2, hunted Africa, hunted Alaska, hunted Canada, built businesses. Incredible dude. He's got the best storytellers and he's the best storyteller. I was like, I want to be just like Mark when I grow up. So you do the things. Don't let your kids run your life. And it's important to live out your own dreams so your kids seeing you live out your own dreams. They're going to do what they see you do. They're not going to listen to you. Our oldest, she works out like 4 days a week down there by herself, and we don't tell her to. And that's kind of new. Like, she's always worked out with her teams and stuff, but now she's like doing it on her own by herself, not with friends, like by herself. I don't think I did by myself. I went with friends. It was a social hour.
For sure.
You know, the youngest is a little lemonade selling entrepreneur. The oldest is slinging food at the brewery and like coming home with lots of cash. And like, so we do intentionally chase our own dreams too. We want our kids to chase their dreams. So we do that.
Yeah.
You know, and they see it. And like, we're starting to, like, Rose and I'll sit back and be like, holy crap, dude. Like, our kids are doing the thing. And it's a selfish, it's a selfish joy to see that play out like that versus the natural thing would be like, well, you need to do this. You need to go to the job. Oh, you don't want to run track? Well, you're going to run track, you know, but to lean into the good, it's, I think we're kind of bucking the system. We know people that do it like that, but we kind of the only ones around here and in Bozeman even that we know. And, man, it's fruitful.
You've had lots of wins, both probably tangible and intangible, from concert moments like you're talking about now, like looking at your buddy being like, yo, we're doing it. Everything from that to some of maybe the more materialistic ones where you said you were driving around with Nickelback on the stereo after exiting a business. I think that there's a lot of mountaintop moments that people are probably have on their vision boards, have on their, you know, their dreams list and all those kinds of things. Being on the other side of a lot of those and having these moments where you've pivoted what success looks like for you. If you had to describe what a rich life is, kind of in closing, what would you say that a rich life means?
Full of substance and always pursuing a journey, like the hero's journey, always pursuing the best version of yourself, the best marriage you can have, being the best parents you can be. I know Rosie and I have 5 years left till the kids are out of high school, and we want to spend more time international. We want to spend significant amount of winter time in warmer places. We want to live adventurous lives. We were very young parents, so we didn't get the whole dating scene or anything like that. So we try to do that now. Like, we do try to spend at least once a quarter, go grab an Airbnb somewhere, go to anywhere. We go to Whitefish a lot. We go to the Paradise Valley a lot. But especially when the kids are gone, I was like, I want to be in the plane, going on cool adventures, warm places, cold places, like living that abundant life. But we've also said, and it's like reaping the words you sow, that if we buy a place in Mexico someday, when or if, I don't know if it's good, but anyway, I want to be like leaving and have one of the kids call to see how things are going. Like, oh, we're going to Mexico. I'm like, what? We want to come, and have them want to come with us.
Yeah.
You know, I love my parents, but like vacation with them is a job. Like, dude, like,
right. Yeah.
Can I stay home?
Uh-huh.
You know, we're very fortunate that right now, like our kids love hanging out with us, and we've never taken them to Mexico. But when we go to Mexico, they're like, "You're not taking us this time," you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we travel with them. Rosie and Bella are going to go to Europe in like 2 weeks, and that's a rich life to me, man. Anymore though, and I know a lot of people fall into that and kind of default to that, but having a good, healthy family, but always pursuing, always up and to the right, pursuing the best version of self, marriage, quality of life. Rich would be being able to have a smile on my face and say hell yeah a lot. Honestly, like more hell yeah moments, you know. When I was building the house, another, like, I'm the richest kid alive. I was building the house. I had Sosa in the back of I had a badass Jeep Wrangler, and I was running back to town for lunch or something, listening to good music on the sub. It was gorgeous out like this. It's green, 80 degrees or something like that. And I was just like, hell yeah. And I was like, okay, more hell yeah moments, you know?
I love that.
Yeah. Principally, it's hard to put a finger on, but like more hell yeah moments.
Clear enough.
Yeah.
I love it. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, dude, this has been awesome. Getting a chance to come out here, see Lewistown for the first time and hang out has been awesome. And it's very clear, even like driving up and down Main Street one time and sitting at lunch with you, like the kind of impact and ripple effect that you have with the people in this community, the friends that you have, and like even your daughter's friends who, like, you can't drive down Main Street, doesn't seem like, without 15 of them being like, hey, how we doing?
Yeah, you say it. And I was like, I do. I've got a rich life. Like, I don't have the material things that I thought that I needed or wanted. But yeah, I mean, you say that and driving down and yeah, all that happened. And I was like, this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
You know, writing, we talked earlier about writing yourself at 8 years old. Mm-hmm. Like, who are you today? And the only person you have to try to make proud is that kid. Do that often. Do that every year. And like the 8-year-old version of me would be fucking jacked if I wrote him today and was like, I took some new friends downtown and all your kids' friends waved at you. You got to see old buddies at the brewery. You had a couple hours of morning work. Your wife is insanely awesome. You built a house, dude. Like, you should see, this is your dream house. Like, oh yeah, you have an airplane and an airstrip. Like, the simple things, but also like the tangible, like your relationship, it's not like everybody else's. It's intentional.
Yeah.
You guys are in love with each other and you're always working to continue that. You have deep friendships. You've done big, like, yeah, dude, I'm rich.
What would you write back if he wrote you back a letter?
Hell yeah. Probably. No, like that, I was a real shy kid, but I think at that age I had a drum instructor that I just thought was the man. And I still go see him. He lives up on a ranch in Shoto now, and he's got the hell yeah life. And I wanted to live or build a life parallel to what I saw. And I think if I could say, like, hey, you know, Blair's life, you're right there, dude. I'd be jacked, you know. And you go through this stage of raising family and sacrificing and committing yourself to building around family, and I killed that inner child, and trying to revive that inner child now, it is exercise of mine to like rewrite the 8-year-old Ty that struggled in school and all the stuff and had pretty low self-esteem. I was, like I said, not a victim, but I'm only trying to make that kid proud. And now maybe my kid, I don't have to try. It'll wreck your world the first time your daughter tells you she's proud of you. But me first, to make him proud is a good achievement.
I'm sure he's excited to have you back.
Yeah, me too.
Hell yeah, man. Well, this is a lot of fun. Thank you for making the time.
Yeah, well, thanks for
It's been
coming
a lot
up.
of fun,
And
and
I appreciate you guys.
yeah, we'll throw everywhere that people can find you in the description. And I appreciate the heck out of your story, man. There's not a lot of people who are willing to do all of the things and then turn around and like reach back and stick a hand down. And just you being willing to like share your story and be as thoughtful as you are is about like sharing your view on the world. That's like, it's the entire reason I started this podcast in the first place. We talked about it earlier. Like, if nothing else, if this podcast never makes $1 and never sees another episode, like the things that it brings into my life and like days like today make the whole thing worth it. So
Yeah,
appreciate the heck out of it, man.
absolutely.
All right. Hell yeah, everybody. See you later. Be where your feet are. We love you.